I'd like to spend a few minutes here and just talk about the night and the occult. What occult really is, what it means, and the true path. Occult just means hidden, concealed, obfuscated. A lot of things are occult. You know, if you can't identify a certain stone or a certain object that you stumble across on the street, or a certain, there's a certain liquid or container, an identified chemical or something, it's an occult liquid, it's an occult stone, an occult plant, until you identify it. Same thing when it goes to the mysteries of consciousness. It's all been occultated and fucking hidden by the enemy and the fucking manipulators. And I want to go back. What the main problem is, we need to get back to the roots here. We need to step into the occult, because there's just so much shit, from the dark and white brotherhoods. Anyone who's fucking knows a little bit more about the occult than just the word has probably heard of the fucking Kabbalah. And everyone who's looked at a thing or two about the fucking Kabbalah has probably heard about the fucking clip-off as well. And same goes to the other fucking systems out there. The Western Semitic Abrahamic systems, which dominate 90% of the occult. It's just all this shit, the fucking Kabbalah, the heavens and the hells, and all these angels and demons and archons and aliens, draconians, and other stellar races. That's all galactic stuff. It ain't even fucking occult anymore, because everyone's just working with what is known. They're working with what they're comfortable with, or what they think they want, or what they think they're just comfortable with. And no one wants to step into the night, because again, what the fuck is occult? It's the unknown. It's the night. It's the things that give you goosebumps and make your hair stand on end. It's the bump in the night that you heard when you were a child that spooked you. And you thought that a boogeyman or some monster was living under your bed or in your closet was going to get you. That's not just your imagination. Children are very fucking in tune with the spirit world, and the whole world isn't just infested with the archon. It has an archontic infection. A lot of people are getting fucking fed upon. So yeah, kids are probably all over the world. They're gonna get fucking tracked and monitored and watched by these fucking things. Especially if they are Christian, if they've been baptized and circumcised, had all the Jewy rituals done to them growing up, because that is a pact. They're just like your fucking social security number is your fucking mark of the beast. Well, the Christian baptism is also the church's spiritual mark on it. So you're double marked. You're getting your fucking little planet just surrounded by this fucking negativity and negative bullshit. And I could point my finger all day. I could be pointing my finger, oh, Yahweh is doing this, Yahweh's evil, Yahweh's a pedophile, Yahweh's a child killer, and ad infinitum. And yes, those are all true. The fucking dickhead Jehovah, Yahweh of the Bible, is a fucking monster. He's a fucking asshole. And he has a real shitty agenda for the world. He wants to shit on everyone and control everyone. And it wants the world to itself. Then you got the other fucking bullshit entities that colonized other parts of the world and started up the same fucking shit that the Abrahamics did with the fucking human sacrifice and fucking, control cults. It goes on. Yeah, these things are bad. They're fucking assholes. They're evil. But what we must realize is that where we come from, what we're fucking connected to, all you truth seekers out there, our Godhead, well, I don't like the term Godhead because it's a right-hand path term. Creator source. I don't like the word creator source. I don't like the word prime creator because those two terms, all I hear is creator. I just like to call it the absolute. So this absolute, this transcendent, monadic chaos, pure raw consciousness, it is worse. Oh, and you better believe it is unbelievably worse. It has a capacity for evil beyond your wildest limits. But it isn't evil in and of itself. It also has the capacity for the highest good. It's not good. It's not evil. It just is. It's the primal womb. This is the occult. This is the wild, untamed night. Think of all the animals of the forests. The goats, the leaping deers and stags, and the wolves, and the coyotes howling at night, and the snakes, and the tarantula spiders. Just a wild, untamed night. When the forest comes alive, truly comes alive when the sun goes down, the night, that is occult right there. Occult isn't, these fucking stellar races or the Greys or that race. Is there occulted information on them? Absolutely, and the truth about them and these races have been occulted and concealed from the minds of the common man. And it must be de-occulted. But that's not occult itself. What makes a coyote or a wolf howl at the moon? What is the spirit that moves all the animals of the forests? What makes jellyfish, who have no physical brain whatsoever, they don't have a brain, they just have they're all nerves, they're all myelin sheath, what coats the neurons in our brain. They're all basically gray matter, and they don't have a brain like we do. What makes them do their jellyfish thing in the sea and propel themselves across under the waters? What tells the birds, to go south, to migrate to a warmer climate in the fucking equator, from the northern hemisphere to the equator? What tells them to do that? What the fuck is evolution? How does consciousness work? Who created life? But what created life? Was it stellar races, or was it just how does fucking, you know, life form out of this chaos? How does fucking, you know, like proteins and molecules and different particles, you know, form together, create fucking amino acids? How the fuck do those amino acids, you know, fucking come together and create fucking DNA chains of fucking genetic material? And how the fuck do those genetic material, you know, create the fucking organelles and create a cell wall around itself? And how do those cells fucking multiply? And how do those fucking cells, you know, makes multicellular fucking life? And how do those make organelles, organs, and organ systems and organisms? Like, how the fuck does this all like happen? You know, that's occult. How the fuck is something? How the fuck does something die? Physical death. You know, how come it takes so fucking long, like years and years and years, to build a base, only for it to be destroyed so quickly off? You know, why? What makes the fucking stars go around? You know, that for example is occult. You know, I want to fucking, you know, what is purpose? You know, what is your purpose? That's a key point of finding out what the fuck you're here to do. You could call it fate if you want. That's not a good term for it. Fate isn't fucking some fucking manipulating Jew god up in the fucking sky, running the cosmos, and everything's perfect, but it's cosmic fate that little Johnny dies of childhood cancer. Because if Yahweh doesn't kill little Johnny with cancer, the whole fucking universe is going to fly apart. It's going to fall to billions of pieces. Nah, that's not what fucking fate is. That's what we've been fucking lied to about. I'm talking about, like, our fucking purpose. What our deepest unconscious will, what we want to do. You know that a fucking submarine goes deep under the sea is easily 10 times more fucking complicated than a space shuttle. Space shuttles are easy to build. It's just basically a tin can. You gotta keep the air in. Well, submarines, deep under the water, they're much more complicated because not only do you can't use a tin can, you have to use a fucking iron fucking can, multi-layered can, that can withstand thousands and thousands of pounds of pressure from the water. If something goes wrong up in the stratosphere or up high above the earth, you're fucked. If something goes wrong like fucking thousands and thousands of feet, like 2-3 miles down underwater, hell, even just 1,000 feet underwater, even just 100 feet under the water, if something goes wrong, you're double plus fucked. You know, everyone wants, they want to go out into fucking space, they want to build rocket ships and tin cans. We don't even fucking know. We don't even know anything about our own fucking planet yet. We don't even know shit about it. Yeah, we know the 7 continents, we know some animal species, some plant life, but we know fuck all when it comes to the ocean. We know fuck all. Excuse me. We know fuck all when it comes to even knowing our planet. We don't even know our fucking selves. Just to tell you how fucked everything is. And most of all, I'm not speaking about everyone, but by and large, a big quantity of you is afraid of the dark. Why the fuck is that? Afraid of the night? Afraid of the unknown? Why is that? Why be afraid of the unknown? And you're born, there's so much fucking trauma and programming. You have all these wicked, Semitic ritual abuse and mind control rituals done to you. The first thing you're popped out of the fucking cunt, mama's cunt. That's the crazy shit about it. You know, like, America was founded by Europeans. But here we were for fucking 200 fucking years, doing Jewish rituals from the fucking enemy to our kids when they're born. Fucking cut up their dick. They're just completely non-European, non-Aryan, non-white, non-Gentile. You don't see this happening on in Mexico or Africa or any of the other countries until Christianity has fucking infested these fucking countries. Then they start cutting up dicks. It's completely unnatural. And they shine a blinding white light in your eye. So now, you're afraid of the dark. Fucking extremes, man. You know, a baby being born ain't supposed to just be hurled, from the womb like a fucking dump or something. Just thrown into the complete opposite of light, but that's what these fucking hospitals do. They fucking throw you into the light. It's practically blinding. And all this shit was done to you in the light, and ironically enough, you think that all this abuse, a child would hate the light. Going to hate it, but no. They've ended up developing like a Stockholm syndrome for the light, because when that light goes out and they're left in the dark, that's when the trauma, that's when they remember. They've been trauma programmed to all about the light, not about the dark. And this is where we're fucking going into the divine feminine here, because chaos is feminine. Gununga Gap is feminine. Tartaros is feminine. The void, even the void, albeit it being a toxic, counterfeit and toxic corruption of the great cosmic womb, that too still is feminine. So what we fucking have here is the white light religions, the white fucking brotherhood, dominating everything. Dominating everything. Patriarchal. Fucking... Man, they tell you what freedom of religion in school. They tell you all about that. But they're all the fucking same. You know, pick your light. Pick your fucking light. You know, pick Jesus. Pick Yahweh. Pick Allah, Muhammad. Pick fucking Buddha. You know, or pick or if you're weird or a different like goth kid or something, pick Wicca. Pick the safe and fucking sterilized fucking form of European occultism and European magical tradition. Pick that, which is a complete fucking psyop and is basically just Christianity, but instead of Jesus, you have Jesus with horns, and you have the threefold law of return. Now, that's fucking bullshit manipulated. You know, I'm not saying that you can go out and just curse anyone you want. There is no three fucking fold law of return, but what you create will, if it's toxic, will not leave you. If it's a whole nother fucking thing about it. So everything's been fucked with. Everything has been Judaized, Abrahamized, and fucking Christianized. You know, or if you're the dork goyim, you know, who they can't get you with Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Wicca, or fucking Buddha, then they dictate what the dark goyim should be doing. So they have the dark brotherhood snares for you. You can pick anyone they want. They approve. You can pick Church of Satan. You can pick the Satanic Temple, which is a fucking just social justice, liberal Marxist fuckfest. You can pick, if you're a little bit more advanced of a dark goyim, they'll even let you climb up some of the rungs of the ladder of their control system through organizations like Temple of Set. Or practice a clip-off, goyim. The universe is a prison. Life is a hoax. Being in a physical body is a disease. You must worship death. Death is your only way out of life. Life is poison. Life is a prison. You must embrace the clip-off. You must embrace nothingness, darkness, and death. It's all about darkness and nothingness, everything. So, what does that sound like? You really think about it. It sounds like fucking Pepsi and Coca-Cola. The white brotherhood religions are Coca-Cola, and then Church of Satan, Temple of Set, Satanic Temple, and the Klipothic left-hand path, Klipothic Satanism and Kabbalah, that's the fucking Pepsi. You can pick either side. Just don't fucking pick yourself. They don't care what you fucking believe in or do as long as you don't pick your fucking self. Now, back to the primal womb. Layers of consciousness. What does a night represent? This feminine void. What this feminine womb? What does it represent? It's the unconscious. The heavens above, the earth that you're standing on, and the hells below, they are all within your fucking self. They are all within your fucking self. They're yours. They do not exist outside of you. And as you go deeper and deeper from the conscious mind to the subconscious mind, things get a little more abstract. Until you get to the unconscious mind. And then what's beyond that? The non-conscious mind. The absolute, zero, and infinity. You know, zero and infinity is the same thing. Both are non-quantifiable. Both cannot be measured. See, the only difference is the symbol for zero is just a ring. The symbol for infinity is the zero turned on its side and given a twist. It's the same thing. Zero and countlessness. Because there's one thing you're counting up and up and up and up and up and up forever, that's infinity. With zero, it's no numbers. So when you think about it, counting up and up and up and up and up, it has all the numbers, it's non-quantifiable, but no numbers, there's no number to quantify, that's also unquantifiable. The zero and the infinity. So now I have a diagram by Walter Russell I'd like to share with you. And if you don't know who he is, go check him out. He's a fucking genius. He's like the next Nikola Tesla. So it's this diagram that I have for you about life and death and the mind. I cannot put it in the video, unfortunately, because my Windows Movie Maker is so shitty. You know, lucky that the images, you can see any like images I have in the video at all. It's like fucking 240 by 144p. It'll just be unlegible. What I can do is I'll put a link in the description. I'll post it on Imgur or fucking Google Drive it or something. So go click on that link right now. I'll give you a few seconds to do so, and just follow along as I read it, because it's a spiral. It's pretty crazy. So how this works is I'm going to read the top, bottom, and just work my way towards the center. Okay, starting from the top. Sexless, magnetic light of the Creator's mind into bodies to unite as one to repeat the creation of matter. Electricity compresses expanded space into dense matter. Electricity expands dense solids into evacuated space. To live for life to live. To death for death to die. Life is a charged condition. Death is a discharge condition. The electric current which creates life by the half of its pulsation, and all else in this universe, death by expanding, half then pushing the waves. There is no such effect in nature as negative charge or negatively charged particles. All matter is either positively charging or discharging. Death is eternal life. And then at the very center is mind. So I make a few changes to this. So death is eternal life. There is no death. I mean, even you can kill a physical body, but the soul is going to live on continually. Because what we're connected to, because we're connected to eternity, to the boundlessness, that nameless, unknowable spirit, I'd say that's why we cannot eternally die. But by making poor choices in life, and what we do in this life fucking matters. by either giving all our power away or making pacts with fucking spirits and quantifying our own souls, limiting ourselves. By doing that, we still cannot die, but some pretty ugly shit can happen. Like, you know, these fucking Faustian pacts, you know, with the Archons. You'll become an Archon just like them. You know, it's like the Borg. You know, no different. Whether you're a Satanist or a Christian, it's no different, because you'll just get assimilated into the cube of heaven, or the hell simulation of the Tesseract, and you'll just become a gray, or you'll become an angel. You'll become whatever, but then you just lost your divine spark. You know, you fucking lost it. You lost that creativity. Your imagination's been fucking taken away from you, and then you're just a fucking cosmic NPC floating around in the void. Now, the absolute, the eternal soul, the super soul condition of consciousness cannot be fucking sold. But there's always a danger of it abandoning you. See, if you're fucking evil, if you're wicked, I mean, the absolute protects itself from the dark sorcerers. If they were able to touch that, we would have been fucking done already. So if you're fucking evil and you're fucking using these sciences or whatever to abuse others, it's gonna withdraw from you. It's gonna compartmentalize and close itself off, either forever or until you get your head out of your own fucking ass and just realize that all the evil and all the bullshit that you're doing to others, you're doing to your fucking self. And it's time to, you know, fucking heal and make that reconnection. But that's not what this video is about. I'm going back into basically the night, the darkness. So Walter Russell wrote about the electric universe, and he says that God is light. See, but that's still, though, just one half of the equation. See, we're both creatures of light and darkness, and this is where comes the true mystery of the primal womb, of Ginnungagap. So, in essence, everything is a darkness. Everything is chaos. And here's why. So, there is no solidity. There is no matter. Everything is crystallized light, vibration. Particles have a magnetic field. They have a charge around them that push them away from each other. That's why objects collide and just don't go through each other. When you cast off the mortal coil and you become your spirit, or your spirit still stands, you're vibrating in a more progressive timeline, a more progressive reality, and your particles, it's still material, it's just a much fucking less denser, much less dense fucking timeline. And so it's like a hologram, you know, your particles are so light and so thin, because matter is 90% nothing. It's 90% empty space anyway. So all matter is just fucking this empty space, just pushing against itself. Your spirit can go through shit, can go through, you know, walls and doors and all that. So there is no death, because you cast off the shell, you're in the higher progressive timeline. So that's similar kind of how basically the electric universe comes into matter, comes into fucking existence, you know, comes into being. And that's just the visible light we can see. You know, 90% of the EMF spectrum is stuff we can't see. And only 4% of fucking matter, 4% of the fucking electromagnetic spectrum is fucking visible. Shit we can see and touch and everything. Everything else, radio waves, infrared, microwaves, gamma rays, X-rays, and just everything else in between. But let's take it a step even further out there. Okay, what is light? Take the absolute light, the brightest of the lights. It's darkness. And here's why. Darkness is the invisible light. The occulted light. The light cannot be seen. Now this is very ironic in the spiritual systems that I was involved with. In the corrupted Dark Brotherhood, chaos, Gnosticism, there's a concept called white darkness. And what this is, and what these anti-cosmics, void worshippers, what they use to defend their void, when there's real evil going on in the world, like the fucked up shit that's going on in the Middle East and kids getting killed and beheaded and executed and everything, they just pass the buck on and say, no, that's white darkness. That's white darkness. No. The void doesn't do that to children. The void, it just is. It's not good. It's not evil. It just is. It just is, and it's a higher spiritual evil, a liberating evil. And I think Thomas Carlson said in his book Kabbalah, Qliphoth, and Goetic Magic that there are two types of evil, and one is the white evil, or the evil created by the ignorant actions of man, and then there's a higher alien spiritual evil that seeks to break down limitations of your conditioning and set your mind free. You see, but what these Dark Brotherhood people, in their infinite amount of denial, can't fucking get away from, that their fucking void, that their Qliphothic, Kabbalistic, and lower void gridworks that exist within the fucking enclosed Tesseract system is that very white, inferior darkness that they fucking speak of. But I have been able to contact an even higher darkness. I've been able to contact what I can only just describe as the absolute. And there is a huge, major fucking difference between the lower void, the void on the Kabbalah, the void that surrounds both trees, both the Sephiroth and the Qliphoth, which is the same fucking tree. It's just light Qliphoth and dark Qliphoth. It's the same fucking thing. It's a closed system that surrounds that. That's in the lower part of the absolute, and unfortunately gives what I'm talking about a bad rap. And when I mention the absolute, all you motherfuckers are thinking about Erica Fravel, you think about Martinet Press, Devil's Koran, that fucking shit, when that's not what I'm fucking talking about. When I talk about the absolute, I'm talking about just pure, raw fucking consciousness. It just is. If anything, I'm going to describe the closest thing I experienced it to a minute. But what this void is, that the void worshippers and the Dark Brotherhoods are working with, is just enemy alien consciousness. It's just negativity, and most of all, it's ignorance. It's like a giant vacuum, just sucks fucking everything into it. It's complete emptiness. It's fucking just cold, lifeless, just emptiness. It's the nothing, essentially, from the never-ending story. Now, the true higher force the true chaos that I've experienced, it is nothing like the negative vacuum void. This is more akin to a fire. It's a burning black fire. It's not sticky or gooey and tarry that clings to an individual like the baby Cthulhu and sucks all their life out and turns them into a fucking husk. That's the void. That's the lower void bullshit. This higher darkness, this eternal darkness, I call it the Tardian flame, is a smokeless, contagious fire, and just ignites this power from within yourself. And the flames burn black as ever. But they're not the dark, tarry, negative, abyssal flames that are cold. No, these flames are hot. They burn so fucking hot that they burn black. See, they burn black. They're very deep color, and these are the colored flames that were burning inside of my best friend, and they were burning very fucking hot. And these are the dark flames that he used to cook the spiritual entity that was trying to take my soul away, that was trying to kill me. He ate it, and with his qigong pressure, he turned up that black fire within him, and he cooked the fucking baby Cthulhu alive within him. So badass. Now, Seth Boza talks about a blue flame. He talks about a blue flame healing art. And I've had some experience with that as well. I call it the blue sun. So everyone thinks that there's just the regular white sun, the right-turned swastika, and the black sun. Well, for me, there is a blue sun. Now, you gotta understand is that a creator source absolute is going to be different for everyone. It's going to approach you as what you need to see it as at the time that it approaches you. And the way that it approached me as Gloom. It approached me as that chaos, as that divine chaotic womb that everything spawned from, because that was that which I was seeking the whole time. That I thought I was getting with. I thought I was getting into, the chaos. I thought I was getting into that as I wanted into the true way cosmic system. And with all the other dark brotherhood systems, I just wasn't fucking getting that. I wasn't getting that. I was getting the void. I was getting the cold, lifeless, vampiric abyss. It's so negative. It's so goddamn negative. Man, it fucking hates life. It hates anything that's beautiful. That's worth living. The higher void, though, the upper mature abyss, doesn't hate life. No. It just wants to embrace you. It just wants to love you and light that black fire and light that black flame or blue flame within yourself. Now, I believe it's got more colors than just dark. Dark is probably... It probably isn't all black fire. It probably is the blue flames and the blue fire too. But the reason why it was black is because it had to match... It probably had to match the frequency of the void. The void entity that was fucking trying to kill me and drain my soul. So it burned black to match the frequency or beat the frequency of the fucking abyssal baby Cthulhu entity so it could fucking destroy the baby Cthulhu entity. But another thing you're going to come into contact with is that in order to get through this, the keys to heaven is buried in the depths of hell. 2P Quinvex. If you have not seen that video, you have to see this fucking video. My 3-hour-long video, the Vrilya Blitz War videos with me and Jupy Quinvex. We talk about all this shit for 3 hours. We talk about, no, almost 4 hours. We talk about the Gwen Tower grid. We talk about Big Brother. We talk about the Void. You know? And basically, you gotta connect to that Acophalian consciousness, that headless one. It's completely beyond all reason. It's completely primal. It's before reason. It's before the mind. It's just the place of the heart. It's a heart core intelligence. You know, the heart that's girded by a serpent. Come forth and follow. My name is a heart, surrounded by a serpent. Come forth and follow. That consciousness, completely alien, and it's seemingly alien, it's terrifying. It's very terrifying. It's going to come to you as your biggest fucking fears. And if it doesn't come to you to scare the shit out of you, you're going to be in an equally fucked situation like I was, where it's like, if I didn't fucking do something, I was certainly going to die. I was certainly going to lose my soul. If me and my friend didn't do something, it was done. So, it can happen one of two ways. You can go through this process willingly, and you can confront your biggest fears, your biggest terrors, and everything willingly, or you can try to fucking deny them. And you're going to be forced to fucking commit heroic acts of healing and reclaiming your fucking sovereignty and reclaiming your fucking freedom. Or you're just going to be taken the fuck out and that's going to be the end of you. So the Acophalian consciousness, you know, I think it came to me through and with some of the scenario I was in and some of the terrifying things that I had to do and my friend had to do in order to get this fucking evil fucking Cthulhu off of me. And basically just free myself. Get my soul back. Now, I know for fucking certain that this is all real. That this isn't bullshit, because its magic is so fucking scarier and so fucking evil. It'll blow all you dork sorcerers out of the water. You think you're badass, you think you're evil, you think you think you have the scariest fucking like magical system around. No. Akaphalos is always millions and millions of times scarier. The absolute, the unknown, the creator source can beat you at your own game. And we fucking did that, you know. And I even straight up told the fucking entity that was sucking off me, I'm like, you may come from the void, but my flames that burn within me, my Gnungagat flames, burn 1,000 times fucking hotter than your little void. That's what I fucking said to it. I said, you're fucking getting routed out. And that's what fucking happened. And my friend ate it. And you know what's so cool too? My best friend, he doesn't make pacts with spirits. He doesn't bow to any god or goddess. This magic, all from the Qigong, all from the energy force they build up within, he ate one smaller bullshit spirit before he ate my spirit, but that just goes to show the type of fucking miracles you can perform, that humanity can perform when they are in proper alignment with themselves. Got a little bit derailed for a minute here. I got too overly excited and a little overly passionate about when I was talking about how we remove the poisonous bullshit entity, in that you already have a hell within yourself that burns hotter than the fucking Kabbalah, hotter than the Qliphoth, hotter than the Void, hotter than fucking hell, literally, hotter than hell. But this still has to do with it. So, everyone's working with someone else's shit, and then you got to realize that you got to take into the fucking equation the lies of man, the lies of the flesh. The flesh is very deceiving, and many, many men, all men, have agendas. And think of how many occultists even, they don't even put their own fucking magic that they practice in the books that they're putting out there. Think about that. How many of you motherfuckers out there collect books? How many of you go a step further and do rituals out of these books? Have you ever fucking considered that the authors that write these books may not be giving you the magic that they perform, that they're leaving some pieces and stuff out of there? These people, they don't practice what they preach. Hypocrites. That's what's going on, The fucking blinders. They put blinders on their shit. So when you work with the deceiving lies of flesh, you're not using your own magic. You're getting whirled up in someone else's vortex. And then you've got all these, the ShamWow occultists, master fucking pull the future out of your ass course, only fucking $3,000. And they're so fucked up because they made so many goddamn pacts and pacts and pacts and pacts with fucking spirits and fucking the symbiotes. They gave all their fucking power away, and now they're like drug addicts. They're like, fucking like someone who uses steroids. They gave all their fucking power and health and strength away. And now they have fucking nothing left. And that's why they're so goddamn evangelical and making you to think that they're giving you deals, and really they're setting you up to feed off your fucking soul, because they don't even have their own magic anymore. They're literally standing on the support of you. So I just want you to think about that next time you buy one of those mastering fucking dictardation courses there. I want you to think about that shit. It's no different from the other bullshit White and Dork Brotherhood lodges, control lodges, like the fucking OTO, the Golden Dawn. They're all fucking hive mind, and it's a fucking pyramid level, where only one or two people at the top, at the fucking highest level of the fucking organization, they actually have all the knowledge to themselves, and they have the true banishing rituals and the true formulas to banish spirits and keep them away. And the person below them, they have 75% of what the top person knows, and they're practicing pretty much close to what the lodge masters are doing, but it's missing a few gears here and there. And then the people the midway down, they're working with half of the gears. And then when you get all the way at the bottom, the new initiates and the new devotees, they have absolutely fucking zilch. They're working with nothing, or they're working, they're doing what the lodge master's doing, but it's completely all ass backwards wrong, so it'll fuck them up. And it'll turn them into a fucking battery for these fucking angels. They vibrate these fucking Hebrew bullshit, fucking Hebrew god names and these fucking angels or whatever like that, and they're just they're just energy batteries for Yahweh. They're just energy batteries, And the lodge master, the only reason he's doing this because he made a pact for Yahweh, and he changed his mind. He's like, oh shit, I don't wanna go to Yaldabaoth when I die. I want my soul back. And so Yaldabaoth's like, I did this for you. You got to give me your soul, or you got to give me the souls of 100 others. What's it gonna be? And then the Lodge Master who made the Faustian Pact is like, fine. If you give me back my soul, I'll give you 100 others. And that's what 90% of these fucking like covens and like fucking like temples, like Golden Dawns, OTO. That's what's really fucking going on. You think you're joining a magical school. You think you're fucking, making progress. You're being used in a pact. You're being used as fucking food, as fucking battery for these motherfuckers. And why? And when you think about it, why would you do that? Ask yourself that. Are you really drawn to Golden Dawn, OTO, Thelema? Are you really drawn to Kabbalah because it's something that you feel like your heart should be doing? Or are you being fucking sold something? Are you being sold poison? Okay? It's a salesman's right to sell you something, to advertise. But if you buy it and you get buyer's regret, that's fucking on you. That's your problem. I had to learn that shit the fucking hard way. You don't want to work with the lies of man, the lies of flesh. Because they will fucking mislead you and deceive you. Everybody puts blind, I don't care who they are. Almost everybody puts some kind of blinder on their work. Now, there are probably a few exceptions to that rule. There probably are people that practice, that do all the rituals, and they put them in the books exactly as they've done them, word for word, sigil for sigil. They use the exact same sigils that they received, like Primal Craft. And that is why I like the Primal Craft Grimoire so much. I mean, I watch Mark's interviews. He seems like an okay guy. I mean, he even, says this, that he would never put any work out there that he hasn't done himself, because that's just cowardly. And there's too many fucking people out there, they do put out rituals and fucked up things in books that they have not done themselves, or they have done them, but they don't put in the fucking sigils or whatever that they've used. They modified it, tweaked it, put blinders on there, or rearranged shit. And that's what you gotta watch out for. If you're doing that, then you know that motherfucking author is a part of a Faustian pact, and he's using your fucking soul to basically get out of hell. But still, though, can't do Primal Craft anymore because I've already committed to something higher than that. And Primal Craft is a Kabbalistic tradition, and it's heavily tied in with the Kabbalah. But I will admit you, though, the books and the spirits, the entities drawn within them, they are beautiful books. They are beautiful grimoires. They have their own energy to them. And I have nothing against anyone who chooses to be a devotee of Hecate or Lucifer. I have no qualms as someone who chooses to have a relationship with Belial. Everyone has the freedom of worship. You have the freedom to worship, to give your energy away, or worship yourself, or work with your own magic, or just work with, what you're passionate about. That's your fucking right. But the minute you fucking make it about other people, and you fucking include other people into your pacts, into what the fuck you're doing, or you become a vampire and you start draining their energy, You know, instead of fucking using your own energy, you've entered a dark fucking path, a dark fucking road. You are now part of the fucking Dark Brotherhood bullshit. Do you know, too, that you don't even have to work with established archetypes? You don't have to work with... You don't have to work with Odin or Thor. Even though they're our ancestors, it's probably a good idea to. You don't even have to work with Hecate or Pan or the demons or the angels. You can actually make your own gods and goddesses. You can create your own archetypes, your own gods and goddesses. And that's the whole fucking idea what the fucking true authentic magical path is about. It's basically the hero's journey. Like Joseph Campbell said, the hero's journey. You are becoming your own fucking hero. You're becoming your own fucking myth. Okay? How cool is that? You don't have to follow Buddha. You don't have to follow Jesus. You don't have to follow Michael or fucking St. George. You don't have to follow these archetypes or these beings. You can make up your own. You can make your own fucking story up. Isn't that fucking awesome? It should get you excited. It should get you really revved up about this. I want you to get fucking revved up about the idea of working with your own absolute, working with the creator source, the absolute, the fucking I am that I am, fucking raw consciousness, the fucking purifying flames. You should get excited about that shit because a new era is coming upon us. We haven't won it yet. We just have to keep fighting to hold this manifestation and fucking enforce it upon there. All the old bullshit systems are getting thrown the fuck out. Soul selling, human sacrifice, fucking mass Faustian pacts, fucking blinders on books, fucking pyramid schemes like OTO, Golden Dawn, hive mind collectives where it's one or two people there and like all the other fucking members are just fucking batteries for the fucking current that's going through these fucking lodges. That's all burned to the fucking ground. Fuck all that shit. It's getting burned up. Man, it's gonna burn. The Tesseract is gonna be fucking destroyed. It's fucking awesome. The new magic is the magic that you create yourself. Alright, I can't stop ranting about this, but now that I've fucking established why you don't want to work with other people's stuff, why you want to work with your own stuff, the blinders, the hive minds, everything. It's because you'll get to know yourself. If you know yourself, you'll know the universe. You know, I've always been fascinated with black holes, with darkness, and like cosmic chaos. You know, I think this Gnunga Gap, this primal womb, has been with me for quite some time, longer than I give it credit for. But I've been denying the work and running away from it because just too many weird things are just going on from my childhood. I was obsessed with the acosmic. I was trying to find the acosmic. Seriously, I was looking for the void, the anti-cosmic Satanism, even while I was still Catholic, even before I knew what any of that was. And here's why: me and my, I come from a high IQ family. My father's a fucking RF engineer. He owned 2 fucking patents. But he never, he did it while they were at work, so the company took them, or he had to, like, buy them out or something, or buy them back and, like, put them on the market or something, but he never did anything with them to, like, make money with them, but he did have 2 patents. He was an RF engineer, and my brother is a fucking aerospace engineer who works in a clean room. And my mom worked in a clean room all her life, so I have very fucking smart parents, like brilliant, like fucking high IQ parents. And like even when I was a child, like we talk about like nuclear weapons. And I remember this at one time. I was staying at a friend's house, and I guess my older brother, he was talking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He was talking about the nuclear weapons, as terrible as that shit was, as Jewy as that was, and as Jewy as nuclear weapons are. You know, he was mentioning about, like, basically you're creating a star, and it's so bright and so much heat that people are just, like, atomized. You know, and, like, and maybe, it's like a fucking shadow, you know, where they were standing, because they blocked out some of that light. It's still there, and I found that, like, so fascinating, like, we talked about it. And then me and my dad, I remember this now, but we talk about black holes whenever possible, man. I love black holes. You know, don't ask me why, but I love the void. I love watching things go down the drain. I love the vortex. You know, I was in the bathtub. My mom, she would give me a bath, and I'd just sit in there for like an hour. And I'd fill the tub all the way up to the top. I wouldn't just fill with the tub with enough water where I'd sit in the bottom halfway. No. No, I filled like the bathtub like over halfway, like almost up to the top. And I remember when it was time to get out of the bathtub, I would fucking just flush the drain. I'd put my finger in there and I'd spin the water to make a vortex. And I just watch all the grime, all the germs, all the plaque, and all the bacteria, and just all like the filthy like germ water and like soap scum just go into a vortex and just orbit that vortex. And it started out as a very, very like deep well, like a deep funnel. And it started to spin and started a very tiny dent in the water. And that little dent of water, it would become like a funnel. A very small funnel, like things would start to spin around it. Then it would make contact with the drain, and it would open up. The water would open up and make a... It'd start to, like, make a yawning, like, howl. You know, like the howl of the abyss. You know, the lower, infected part of the infected abyss. The corrupted abyss. The howling, swallowing abyss. And I just stare into it. And I just watch just the water go down the drain. And I almost get high off of it. And I just sit there and it'd take like almost 2-3 minutes for all that fucking water, sometimes even 5 minutes for all that fucking water to empty from the bathtub. But I still watched it. And I watched that fucking drain spiral until it sucked all the water out, and it just made a gurgling sound, and the bathtub was empty. Then when I found out there was such a thing called black holes, man, I had like a fucking soul erection. Black holes. And then a gravity object so heavy, so dense that light can't fucking escape. I had to know all about it. I had to know about fucking black holes. You know, I had to know everything about it. And so that's what I fucking did. You know, I used to fucking speak in school too. So I didn't speak till I was 3 or 4 years old, but when I did start speaking, I wouldn't shut up about science or gravity or planets. And I remember in like fucking, I think like second grade, one of the teachers was nice enough to let me do this. I think it was like once a week or like a couple times a month. It was like a Wednesday morning before like the class started, and I'd ask for like 5 minutes or like 10 minutes, and I'd just spout facts, you know. I just spout facts about like fucking planets, about like fucking gravity, and like shit, and like ones about like black holes, and like, man, and we learned about black holes in like middle school, 6th grade, man. That was my favorite fucking unit, learning about the life cycle of stars. You know, the red giant, the supernova, the white dwarf, and the black holes, of course. You know, like, I fucking love black holes. I get every like book I can get about fucking black holes, and I just fucking study them religiously. There's this one book I remember. There's this one book I remember. It was very like wide. It was a big book, and it had very colorful illustrations in it. It was all about black holes, from small but mostly supermassive black holes. And it talked about some of the theoretical physics about what goes on inside of a supermassive black hole. You know, and the singularity. So it's inside of the very core of a black hole that all that matter is compressed so heavy, it compresses into itself so hard it Swiss cheeses itself. So it's like a ball with a bunch of holes in it. But it is theorized that this is the singularity. So you go on, pretend you're going into a black hole, you cross an event horizon, that part where you cannot fucking come back. And where gravity is so fucking strong, it's moving faster than light, it's going to take an impossible amount of energy to fucking get out of that shit. So you're done. You're going into the singularity. So you're in the singularity. The matter's so fucking compressed, it fucking creates a bunch of tiny mini black holes within the fucking nucleus. And it theorized that all these little tiny Swiss cheese holes are actually wormholes to other universes. There are other tiny black holes within the black hole. And from there you can visit the anti-cosmos, the antiverse. And that's what got me so excited about this. This is the first time I read anti-cosmos anywhere. This is before Satanism. This is before the occult. This is while I was still probably 7th or 8th grade. And it didn't have much to say about that, but it said it was basically our universe, but negative. So instead of dark with white speckles in the sky called stars, it was just all whiteness with black speckles, with black stars. And it was composed solely of antimatter. So where our universe is made of matter, the anti-cosmos, or the negative, is comprised entirely of antimatter. But if you try to enter this anti-cosmos, you wouldn't make it. You'd get destroyed immediately because you're made of matter, and you would immediately connect with the antimatter, and of course all the laws would be different. So instead of gravity pulling stuff together, gravity would push everything apart. So literally, I read about the void. I read about the primal womb, the primal chaos, before I even fucking knew what the clip-off and the dark occult and the void, what all that shit was. I fucking learned about it in a physics book meant for kids about black holes. It's fucking crazy. And immediately afterward, I got obsessed with this shit. I got obsessed with black holes. Then I found out about H.P. Lovecraft, man, and I just went down the spiral from that. I went down the spiral. I had to know more, and there's this very nifty documentary on the Necronomicon on YouTube very nifty documentary about the Mad Arab Abdul El Azred. And in that documentary, let me see if I can find it, is that within the universe of the toxic void, where the symbiotic agenda, the aliens and the archons and the negativity is coming from, their world is completely upside down. So what's beautiful for us is completely hideous and disgusting for them. And what is beautiful for them is hideous, disgusting for us. So think of like a pile of dog shit, how fucking stinky and nasty that is. Well, in the other universe, the Clip-Off, where they come from, oh, they love those fucking things. They love dog shit. You know, they love fucking filthy shit and disgusting and just putrefaction and rotting death and everything. While, you know, goats and cute animals and just beautiful and like aesthetic things to us is like fingernails on a chalkboard to them. Like, what's good is bad, and what's bad is good. Everything is flipped topsy-turvy, upside down, and, well, it's the upside down, just like Stranger Things. And this is when I was like in 8th grade. I was still a Christian. I was still like a Catholic. I was just studying this shit out of curiosity. I was getting pulled towards it. But in all reality, I mean, I think I've known what I'm supposed to do. I think I've known the trajectory that I'm supposed to go on to. You know, but even with, in my experience in the left-hand path, you know, I've read Eric Freville, I read about the void worship and everything, and I tell you what, and I've read about the chaos Gnostic and everything, but really, I was really holding back, both on everything, both on the left-hand path and holding back a little bit on what I'm supposed to do right now, working with the Absolute. And the reason why is having to step into that nothingness, step into the formlessness. And that was my biggest, like, fucking qualm, is the idea of just being formless, of being nothing. That really bothered the shit out of me. I didn't like it. I wanted form. I wanted security. And so what I did is I didn't make fucking pacts out of true devotion, out of devotion to devils or these various spirits that I did, unfortunately, was weak enough and manipulated enough by baby Cthulhu to make pacts with long before I was ready to even work with them, is basically making a pact for my soul too. Because I did not want to step into the night. I did not want to step into the unknown. I did not want to become formless and confront my own infinitude, my own limitlessness, my own boundlessness, my own formlessness. No. I wanted the safety and the comfort of demons, of dark gods. But even strangely enough, they're formless too. It's a paradox. So it's a fucking paradox. You know, I was very, very shallow, very, very shallow, materialistic, greedy person. Only like would have like something on my altar, or have like a certain demon or spirit, you know, on my altar, or I'd summon that entity because I liked the way it looked, and not to fucking anything to do with its deeper fucking inner meanings and what these symbols actually mean. To quote Valentine Scaver from Demogorgon, these people, they don't make a pact for Satan. In fact, they make a pact for their souls. They make a very greedy, shallow, materialistic pact, and they conclude their relationship with Satan. They conclude their relationship with the flesh of Satan. That's not the full quote there. I have to get the book out. that was me. I was not the seeking Satanist because I love the void, I love death and destruction, but no. I love the way Azazel looks, the black dragon with the goat horns, and I basically just made a materialistic fucking, bargain to basically preserve my own ego or my own humanistic interpretation of these things. Yes. Okay. Now, this is from Demogorgon by Valentin Scaver. This is a Russian traditional Satanist devil worship coven. Very, very evil. I've also had AMSG, which is the second full-length book by the same author. Very, very evil. Now, this is not to give credit or to give praise to this is not to give any credit to the anti-cosmic, but this is just to tell you where I was at. Okay. Page 10 to 11. Moreover, only the Diabolus knows the veritable desires of man. Pacto cum Diablo is not a symbolic choice, but a real and concrete act. Because of this, its implementation demands to have not a symbolic, but real relationship with Diabolus. A majority of the few seekers is in search for human benefits, but the result is that they are heading for a fall irreversibly. So the object of the pact is the fulfillment of the coarse and material part of the soul. In fact, they make a pact for their soul and offer it for satisfying their egoism and self-interest of any kind, and certainly not with the intention of union, but only to satisfy some illusory desires of the flesh and of the inheritance of their animal instincts. They make a pact based on distorted conceptions of diabolical essences dwelling in the upper spheres of Diabolus' influence, and give themselves to the power of the inferior spheres of evil's manifestation, but without finding any representation beyond the surface. Nonetheless, they have their place within the framework of the strategy aimed at extending the necroses to material forms and obstructing divine processes within the cosmos. The essence's name of any devils will accept their soul as a guarantee. They conclude their pact with the flesh of Satan. Among loyal seekers are also those who respect a reward for their work. The pact for lifelong service for those of this vocation will be a privilege and a deferment to their own ruination, but at the cost of the ruin of the rest of the human tribe. The assistance to evil in exchange for benefits emanating from evil in the flesh. The pact for protection while preserving the humanity of the person are limited to one single covenant, which is valid during the life of the person till its complete expiration. These persons are voluntary helpers or hilfswillage coming from the human race. And that was exactly me. That was exactly who I was. I did not have any true love for the void. I did not have any true love for the absolute evil, for the absolute darkness and negativity expressed through some of the dark systems like void worship of Erica Frevel and the Russian Res Satani tradition. No. It just saw a couple badass engravings. Of basically dragons with goat horns on it. I'm like, this looks badass. This looks like a fucking medieval devil grimoire there. Oh, I want this, Completely autistic. Basically, the reason why I'm in so much pain and so much anguish and cause so much suffering because of my spiritual autism. I work with things based on their appearances, for the safety of things, but never knowing why, never knowing why I sought these things to begin with, or why I like the forms of these things. Really, what I think I was doing is I was seeking out the absolute, and I just had to go through all the bullshit first so that I would know what the absolute is not. There's that apophatic knowledge, that knowledge through negation, that knowledge through knowing what something is not. So now that I fucked with, now that I played with the void, now that I've learned through the lies of man and the lies of flesh, the true power of the absolute darkness that contains light within itself, the true power of the absolute has made itself known to me and basically gave me a good bitch slapping and a good humbling and said, you know nothing. You want to know real darkness? Take my hand. Take your own hand. You'll find it within yourself. And this all boils down to, everyone who thinks they got something, the Dark Brotherhoods, they got the true right-hand path. They got the Grimoire of Abramelin the Mage, and they got this fucking 50-pound book with 6,000 pages in it that's 3 inches thick, and it's got fucking thousands and thousands of names of angels in it. And they think they have the secret to the fucking universe just because they have a book with 5,000 angels in it. Or they get the fucking 72 or 216 letter name. Or on the reverse side, they got the 72 letter name in reverse. Some fucking guy thinks that he's going to control the universe just because he's heard the name Tetragrammaton, just because he said Shemham Mepharash there. He said the magical 72-lettered word. He thinks he's going to control the fucking universe. Then you got people like me who thought I had the secrets to hell just because I had Natamargatet, which is Tetragrammaton spelled backwards. Just because I spoke the magical Jew god name in reverse. The Jews hailing Tetragrammaton, their Shittagog there, me hailing Natamargatet in my own void temple. When really, the Absolute's like, hey, whenever you're ready to get out of the game, whenever you're ready to stop, denying yourself and stop, just playing with spiritual autism and just being spiritually acoustic, you can come to me when you're ready. Come to yourself when you're ready. And that's what I said. After all these angels and these names and everything, that this is not even fucking occult anymore. So what is occult? What the fuck is occult? It's that which hasn't been fucking revealed to you yet. So you're gonna have to fucking take a hard look at yourself. You're gonna have to face your fucking denial. You're gonna have to face your fucking denial. You're gonna have to face your worst fucking fears. For me, it's formlessness. For me, it's not having the comfort or security of the goat, of the Baphomet. And guess what probably the first thing when doing the full pack initiation is probably going to do? It's probably going to rip all my goat dolls, all my Baphomets and goat shirts out of my arms and make me be naked or fucking just live in a shitty place where they don't have goats. It's going to suck. But I'm going to be tough. You're going to confront that fucking shit. You got to step into the night. And the biggest fucking paradox of it all, even though I cannot call myself a Satanist, because I don't work with the Hebraic spirits anymore. I don't work with these Klipoth or these demons or these Hebraic entities. I don't call myself anything. But there's a reason why I made 2 channels goaty names. John Caprine and Goat Lodge. Really, it's all about it's about the goat right now, because that's who I still give a fuck about. There's been a lot of purge. I burned a lot of my own drawings. I got rid of a lot of things that I'm sure was in connection to the fucking parasitical entity. Even though I hated myself for doing it, and it felt like I was destroying my own children, that I was giving my own children away, but I just had to make sure. There was one thing that was not destroyed through this purging yet. It hasn't even begun. And that's Baphomet. That's the goat. That's the horn, the old horny. But even then, horny is just a symbol, and he's just but a doorway. As with all names, as with all symbols, and all idols are doorways of consciousness, are stargates. You see, and this is where it gets really strange, because you can work with images, you can work with names and stuff, but when you start giving them blood and you start invoking spirits, there's a very fine fucking line between self-exploration and to where you're getting harvested by fucking shit. And when you start giving them your blood and you start making soul-selling pacts and you start fucking worshiping the idols, and you're invoking them, and they're possessing you, and you're giving them blood and bodily fluids, and you're giving them your fucking blood, that is where you've crossed that line and you're entered the void. You entered the danger zone, the zone of extreme danger, because any fucking spirit can come to you and claim to speak for that statue, to claim to speak for these graven images, or speak through these artworks, and fucking start drinking you. You see, that's why that was a fucking one of the things about graven images there. Okay, the fucking prohibition against graven images is twofold. Okay, first, this was done to the Jews themselves first, because when the fucking Carthaginians found out that it was discovered that they were burning their kids alive to these fucking idols. They were in the fucking Valley of Hinnom. They were burning their kids to these fucking Molechs and these fucking, statues and everything. They were completely slaughtered. I mean, the Romans, or like the neighboring non-Molech tribes, they completely wiped them the fuck out. Then, because they've been compromised. They may have been good, they may have been pure at one point, but now they're burning kids and stuff to them, so they've been fucking compromised. So, but the prohibition for graven images for Gentiles, that's to shut down your brain. They don't want you to draw. They don't want you to use your creative capacity, because symbols are the oldest fucking language there is. Okay, before there were spoken words, before there was alphabets, there was fucking hieroglyphs. And that shit is so fucking ancient. The fucking subconscious mind, the soul, speaks in images. And if they can prohibit you from fucking using the images, then they can compartmentalize and shut down half your brain. So the prohibition against idols and stuff may have worked for the Jews. It may have worked for them. It may have done good, them not being allowed to sacrifice to Molech or sacrifice to Yahweh, because they prove that they are not responsible adults. They're just a bunch of big fucking kids. They don't know anything about anything. They're completely ignorant, ruled by superstition. That prohibition might have worked for them, but then they completely inverted it, and they imposed it on all the Gentiles and all the fucking shamans who had real knowledge so they could control them. And guess what? The Talmudic Jews, they reverted back to their sacrificing to Molech and killing children for Saturn and Yaldabaoth. Well, they didn't really revert back to it. It's just that practice never fucking stopped. It hasn't fucking stopped. It's still been going on for the past 2,000 to 5,000 fucking years. How much time am I? Okay, 45 minutes. I want to drive down my final point here. You cannot rely on even idols for your safety, because the enemy counts on that. And if someone's worshiping an image or something for all the wrong reasons, because he's in fear of being without it, or he has a emotional crutch or dependency, that is how these motherfuckers mount in this reality field. I know it because I fucking channeled this fucking bullshit gnosis, and I've written a very, very nasty couple of so-called grimoires. I had to burn them. I didn't have to burn them, but I ended up burning them. I wish I didn't. I took some pictures of it, though, so I can share you little nuggets from it of the kind of fucked up things I was interfacing with or being fed upon by. And like I was saying, all of this was an avoidance. It was an avoidance. It was an avoidance of everything that I was afraid to do, but that I had to do. And all these dark brotherhoods, they think they got the secret of the devil. They think they got the secret of the adversary. Just because they found an older name for Satan, just because they don't use a Hebrew name, they don't use Satan, they use Arhiman, or they figured out that Belial is older than Lucifer, and that Belial was the true instigator in the fall of the rebel angels, of the angels fallen from heaven, and actually convinced Lucifer to turn against Yahweh. Just because they think they found out the secret of Belial, or just because they think they found out the secret of Set and Apep, just because they found the names of these different gods and goddesses, they found the secrets. They haven't found shit. They're just still running in circles, spinning their tires in the mud. But I will tell you this, though. If there is a true Satanism, if there is a true Setianism that's beyond the Dark Brotherhood bullshit, that's beyond the fucking right and left-wing brotherhood, that's beyond, the mass human sacrifice and grounding up children for your McDonald's and fucking all that Jewish bullshit that's going on. It's beyond all that. That isn't anything to do with enslaving or controlling others. That has fuck all to do with the astral soul trading economy. That doesn't demand that you give up your soul. That doesn't demand you give away your sovereignty or freedom. I'll tell you what. It's this. And to this point, up until now, the horned one, with the horned V like horns on his head, Lucifer, Set, he has always represented the night to me. The night. Not the clip-off, not the night side, not the abyss, no, but the essence of night. The essence of the night itself, the very, very wild goat of the forest, the lord of the animals, the initiator of the witches. Even though Lucifer isn't his name, it's his Roman name, Greco-Roman name. Set maybe his Egyptian name, but he's always represented the night. to me. He's always represented that unknowable spirit. And to me, I see the horned devil. I see him as not only as a god of the earth, as an archetype for the earth, but also the archetypal consciousness of that which dwells in the absolute. The child of Sophia. A child of the darkly divine, feminine, coming to earth to crush the head of the fucking lion, to crush the head of fucking Yaldabaoth, and put to death, put to holocaustic Ganungagat purging flames, both the light and the dark tesseractal gridworks. This is John Caprine, sign the fuck off, hail the fucking goat.